Oh, it's apparently already working. I guess being in windowed mode, it's going to be like that. So, yeah, anyways, this is just going to be a quick thing here that I have up for the stream. But also, it'll make a quick little bit of a meeting thing right here in ye old, um, our usual meeting spot of Kyral Threndor, a place that doesn't generally enforce rules that don't exist. Kyral's better about that. However, when it comes to Eden Estates, well, this is going to be a little bit of a noting documentary thing because it'll probably come in useful later, I'm assuming. And don't move, Pill. You're perfect right where you are because your butt is just in and out of frame. But, anyways, so apparently there is a little bit. Okay, Paul's going to do the cruise anyway. But yeah, we might stop advertising the Tuesday bit and just pull away from it because this is. Cryptic will say the most conflicting things with her own logic on a regular basis of things like. Let's see, I'm not. This is when we were in vehicles at the bottom of the ocean. And, oh, darn it. I'm trying to keep your stuff out of the frame there. But this is basically what she said to me, and I don't know what you're doing, but road vehicles are not allowed on the seafloor. This is a nautical estate. Boats or seaplanes, please. Here's the thing. Nowhere in their rule set is it against it, as far as I could tell. So she goes on to, well, I said, okay, didn't see it in the regulations. And Cryptic simply says that excuse doesn't fly when I'm an estate manager. So I guess you're able to suddenly push what's not in the rule set, which is fine and dandy. I get it. Final word is final word. However, what was completely unnecessary and does seem harsh, even though I didn't say the word harsh, she did. You've been warned. Next warning is an estate ban. Sailing first is even in the. She's not even spelling right at this point, like not even close. But I guess I frazzled her, even though I said nothing harsh. But anyways, she meant to say sailing first is in the covenant, and I'm okay. All right, but first doesn't generally mean only in the language. Didn't think we'd be threatened with a ban for trying something we didn't see against the rules. Then there's the response with Street. I'm not being harsh with you. We've dealt with too many cars on the seafloor here. Please just use something else. Every rule we have has a reason. Again, we don't see it in the rules. And it usually because someone ruined it for everyone else. No, I think you just have a particular idea what you want to happen here right now, and being that you're an estate manager, indeed you can levy that. However, the way it was approached is my personal feeling it wasn't good. But let me go to my actual response to her. It was, okay, but yeah, it is being harsh when it's a threat for a first-time attempt for the individual when none of us of the group tried it before. So yeah, it kind of feels harsh to the individual, even if the reasonings are understandable. I wasn't even given a chance to dismount before the threat of ban came through. Vacating as our idea will have to be tested elsewhere, we understand. And then they responded with, the estate manager asking you to do something after you've said no. It's not in the rules. And then telling you that the circumstances of not following the guidances is not a threat. Actually, yeah. We said we didn't see them in the rules. And then we were threatened with ban. And then I made a little slanty face on there in text. Don't worry, I won't do it again. When the others are back and get message, they'll also vacate that I meant to say we are, but I did say that. Vacate that we're trying the project. So we have vacated that particular zone as well as those ground vehicles. But yeah, so this was not me saying no, not at all. In fact, this was me being utterly compliant. And with this compliance, not even a chance to comply yet, threatened with ban for something that was actually, as far as we can tell, and I could probably get my lawyer, not lawyer, here in the corner to further inform me that, as far as we know, it was not in the rules. You have to, if they're ruining their names cryptic. But yeah. But the thing is we have abided by the regulations there, even when above 100 meters. I just heard in one place that someone said that it only counts as over the land portions, and then Cryptic at that time too also said it's for everything and everywhere, which, as far as I know, is also not what the wording said. But nonetheless, we changed to abide. This is now another time that we've seen, from as far as we know, rules and regulation, that it is not in the rules. We were being compliant, and yet before I could comply, I'm being threatened with a ban. Just like, and then they usually say something kind of counter against what they're actually doing and saying, is that, it's not to single you out or blah, blah. It feels kind of like that, because if it's not singled out, it's kind of this situation of you're singling out at least all pilots. And it does feel that probably, I don't know if another certain vanilla type individual is behind it by trying to put it in their head, and that this is a great and wondrous idea. And it might very well be, but we don't know that for sure. For all we know, though, is that we're kind of always getting these heavy-handed comments from someone who, from Cryptic running Tuesdays, no matter what it is we do or what we try. And now that it's in Eden, and that the whole Eden thing can be levied against us, is that it's now further being pushed. Here's the thing. We already don't have a lot of pilots participating in Tuesdays, because one that I will leave off the record went as much as to say, and he probably wouldn't even care if I did put him on record, is that, yeah, I'm not going there because I had a run-in with their estate managers, and that they're not even fun to, be out there, period. So, if this is what they think that they're going to do to keep good business and all those lands filled, I kind of feel that they're going to get less people wanting to rent their areas when they come across as, quite frankly, this harsh, that fast, that soon. And yes, I'm going to go on record and say it is harsh. When you're going to push, even if it was in rule set, you should at the very least, give someone a moment to see if they comply before you use the word ban. Stuff like this is why people end up coming back to Second Life just to troll, because it's funny to see how people get so easily pissed off in an area that's basically what some of us who indeed have now disabilities of some sort go to do, because it kind of has become a digital retirement home, because it's not much fun. For the only young ones that are really here are trolls, or those who were very, very young in the early days of Second Life. And like me, they're trying to do their part to keep part of the dream alive, even though that they're not on payroll to do it. And to treat those people that are literally putting in more work than some actual Lindens when it comes out to being out and about, trying to see what can be done with the system to keep it fun and manageable, as well as on top of abiding by actual rule sets, especially TOS, which we indeed have to do patrols because the Lindens just don't seem to. And as far as my understanding is, the moles they're paid to react if they get a message about it, but not necessarily to actively patrol, because it's a lot of area out there, and they're undermanned and under manpower. Now, I'm not sure how much the moles are actually paid. I don't think they are. I think they're kind of volunteers as it is. So, unpaid workforce. But they, agree to that, and I get it. And it's also probably part to those moles still building things up for the Lindens that things are getting done. So, they're definitely still higher tier of a lot of things. But back to the bit, is yes, you're only going to push people out of your rented areas. You're only going to push people out of the entire platform. And then the only people you're going to get back that once they see how angry you get is like, well, getting you angry is the easiest thing to do on the face of this non planet. Then probably that's what they're going to come back to do and record it. Right now, I'm not recording for the sakes of trolling because no one watches my channel. However, what this does provide is a legitimate context. Yeah, we're kind of looking to skip Indeed Eden runs. And actually, I'm kind of looking to further go and maybe skipping the Tuesday bits because I've kind of caught this sort of wording from Cryptic before, and I've spent literal years being nice and agreeing to everything. And then the last time I brought something up that, like, well, maybe it'd be good if it was, elaborated to some of the other groups that it's 100 everywhere, not just the land areas, but includes the water channels and Eden Estates as well. And then I get this big old thing back about saying, oh, they're not obligated to blah, blah, blah. Well, like, whoa. I didn't say they were obligated. I said it would be good for communication, especially on a platform like Second Life, where community is kind of what's all that's left that keeps people here to a degree. So that was also an Eden run, but I've also caught things further in the past. Like, oh, well, if I find out that your planes are running in the boats, and I'm like, whoa, who said that we were running into that? If that's a thing, then we need to have a discussion right now about it. Because what makes you think that we're on purpose trying to cause trouble? And then she whips back around a 180 and says, oh, I wasn't accusing you of anything. Sound very accusatory to me. And I think that when I stream things and when that context kind of winds up hitting, like, it's against TOS to copy paste, but for Second Life's Linden Labs to make it against TOS to stream things that happen that are blatantly right then and there, like the chat happen to be open, like when you are doing these things, that's on you. That's no longer a situation of, oh, well, you copy paste. No. Second Life probably wants all the exposure it can still get because Second Life has already been kicked off Twitch because of its, well, more adult content. I'm not going to say that they should all censor things. By all means not. I'm very much against censorship as long as it's, over the proper age limit, which apparently has been levied in theory that some staff were engaging in things that they weren't. However, that's an accusation that, as far as I know, was not proven in court. It's just indeed the word. And I guess a newscaster would say allegedly, because anything that you say with allegedly is fine. So we'll say it here. Allegedly was accused of engaging with things that are not people of the proper age. But yeah, by all means, Second Life should be able to have that stuff. It would be nice, though, that you would not threaten people with bans for doing something legitimately not against the rules, when you could literally just have a quick dialogue and be like, tell you what, just please don't do it right now and we'll have a dialogue later. Then say that you probably would have to or be nicer about it, but don't say something harsh. Then act like you didn't say anything harsh, that you're not being harsh just because you dealt with it in the past. And I'm not going to believe that Cryptic's one to apologize. I can't recall ever getting an apology for Cryptic for what sounded like an accusation, as far as I'm concerned, accusations, but then dialed it back the moment I started using dialogue that seemed a little higher end, other than just a communication between friends. And so, yeah, she's friendly up to a point that you don't do anything that she doesn't like ever. But we shall see. But indeed, yeah, so that is where we're at currently. Right now, I think that we're going to skip the Eden runs. And whenever an Eden run comes up, maybe we'll just kind of like, I don't know. We'll either maybe do something else or just be like, you know what? We already have a run later that same day. And everyone who's there knows us by name already. So I'm like, I mean, they're still going to get more new people, but I can't say that they've really helped us fill ranks from Tuesdays. It just seems like more of a thing of more plane haters. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And a lot of the people that have been more friendly and the cruise directors that have been willing to work with us are the other groups. And it seems so interesting that Cryptic's gone from, oh, well, just ignore Vanilla. She's not a very happy person, to being now like, okay, well, now you're acting like Vanilla. And it makes me wonder if there was some bits there. So, yeah, so I don't know. Maybe Alexandra Vanilla had a touch on that as and levied her ability, which is like, oh, well, I have a lot of experience in the boating community. The thing is now, as far as we know, at least on open cover, Vanilla's not openly able to say anything anymore. At least not in local chats, not in group chats. As far as I know, from what I can tell, even though it's not been expressed to me directly, is Vanilla probably has indeed been warned. Like, you keep this up and they're going to have something to use and it's not going to go in your favor. So she's kind of let up. She was even given a DJ job for one of the cruises, which I'm really not so great about, but maybe that's just kind of the buy-off for her to shut the fuck up. And if that's the case, then, okay. And I'm not going to be unnice with the comment of shut the fuck up, because for 3 years, even if she were to watch this, she knows she was doing it for 3 years and never apologized. If she were to apologize publicly, I'd scrub it from held record until she does something again, which maybe never. But the thing is I think apology is the bare minimum of what should be expected for you to expect to have everything of bygones be bygones. Somewhere I think that's almost kind of like the unwritten rule of civilized society. But let's see. So yeah, the enforcement of rules should look to intent first, and maybe organizational managers are hideously underqualified for roles they're in. Possibly. I kind of feel like a lot of things in Second Life are working with the bare minimum. And I'm not going to say that we're quite as like super regulatory, heavy-handed and whatnot. We try and let people know, but if people make a mistake, then we remind them, and if it keeps being a problem, then we have a further dialogue. But as such, we realize a lot of our work here is voluntary. And my work here is very voluntary. I'm not bringing a USD paycheck home. And such is the case with just about all of us. And if any of us aren't getting anything, it's because, well, through our work, we have other things that have come up. Management, even. Let's see, you Mothword. But what's the thing? Yeah, again, I feel like she took your, we didn't see it in the rules as I'm not going to comply. Yeah, the thing is, that's not the words that were used. And when you let someone put words in your mouth, and then you agree that that's what you said, then they can hold it against you. That's the thing, though. I didn't let her put those words in my mouth. I said, that's not what we said. So they can call it, eventually, Paul, someone else mentioned about how I talk about things as something that's more of a, what's the word I'm looking for? The thing that everybody does lately. Yeah, an almost more political bit. And instead I'm talking more of a legality bit. And one of my jokes when that came up was, like, there's a difference anymore. Everyone's suing everyone else over the mudslinging that used to be prevalent and not even nearly as fierce. But eventually this could come down to a legality, but not likely. I think if any one of us were to get really kicked out, we could bring it up, but we'd probably just see it to the people's court that is the internet, and then they would probably just bombastically undo the rest of their platform into oblivion. And after Linden Labs' recent outings of legal situations, I don't think they would want to go that route. And we're not breaking TOS. Matter of fact, even now, even though I don't agree with how she handled it, she might ban me from the Eden Estates and said nothing. Because she hasn't said she was going to ban me. I said I'm vacating the area. That's fine. Because honestly, was I looking to ever rent something where from Eden? One, I can't right now. Two, I have people that want me to just hang out at their estates, just so we're using up and doing even more traffic. Three, I've had this kind of situation before, even with Linden Labs, when they were trying to put warning on people's profiles for something left behind because of their bad crossings, and I won. And that person was removed from that position as far as we can tell, because someone else was put in their position, undid all the warnings, and never was that ever levied against a profile ever again. So, yeah, that's fine. If there's this one patch of area that is not fun to fly, and quite frankly, if it's not fun to fly for me, I don't even want to go there sailing. Why would I? It's, hey, here's a bunch of patchwork islands where you have to wiggle these boats in these weird ways, and I'm more of a cruise shipper. I like a boat that feels like a pirate ship but still small enough to manage. The Bandit 60 is perfect for that. And it's just why? If that's what if they want to be a gated community, that's fine. I realize that I'm probably seen as too unusual for them to want me to really be there, but I'm probably quote unquote by some considered tolerated. For one, I'm a very dark shade of fuzz, and it's just okay. So I'll just stay outside that gate. There's other communities like it that enforce rules, but they're rules based on their actual regulations that they won't instantly threaten you. So I'll just go there. And honestly, more people have been leaving out of Second Life again. We saw it this year. So if this is the way it's going to be, they're going to chase more people out from not only their area, as said, but off the platform, as said, which in turn less people show up who all their friends are gone, as I've said past. And then how many people do you think it's going to be that then more of your people that actually are even renting even now in your state leave, not just because your state managers really have this kind of level of negative exposure, but your platform is dying. And that's the real serious note here that I've been saying for years. And it is. It's slowly but surely dying. And we're almost at the end of the year, the very year that I said if this has not been turned around, it's probably going to be a case of it's not going to, and you're looking at a 3-year slow death. In which case, some of us who have Lindens in our account might just put on a debit, credit card, whatever you have it, just long enough to pull our Lindens out and then turn it into USD for our one and only shot of really doing such before we expect to be banned for no good reason, even though we were following all rules. Because in the legal system, it's okay to suddenly get rid of people even though that they have no legal reason to do so, not even their own terms of service, because they can do so at any time. In the small print, because also in a lot of cases our legal system really doesn't do much to protect rights on a digital frontier. It's still pretty bad. Sorry, a hair got in my mouth somehow. I do have long hair, and I'm also old. So I guess that's just what I wanted to do, is that we're indeed kind of journalizing some of this bit, some of the thoughts here that we have. Anyone can live that way? Yeah, probably not. And I think people are really leaving because of it. Even people that used to treat this as, some of the trollers would say, a digital geriatric home, which at this point, because everyone who's fit as a fiddle and can play all sorts of other things, often are, they've otherwise gone to VR chat. And then people say, but you need a VR headset. No, you don't. Turns out VR chat's been non-VR headset for a very long time now, as well as VR headset. And if headsets were smart for that matter, they would probably lock into a better deal with VR chat, because it really is one of the major selling points at this point. But this is not the first time, people have basically been leaving their money on the table to basically then not only leave their money on the table, then nudge it in your direction and say, we don't want your money. And well, we've seen a lot of that in the gaming industry. Like, oh yeah, well your censorship is literally killing people. Well, it might, but the thing is you say our lack of censorship is literally killing people. No, it's not. For one, if you want to blame the shooters on Doom, come on, these kids were going to find another excuse. They were being beaten on. They didn't know what to do with it. They lost their fucking nuggets in their brains and had other problems, probably really much at home. And video games, if they didn't exist, they would have done something else like vehicular manslaughter. What are you going to do? Remove all vehicles from the world? Some other are trying it. It's never going to happen. And then what happens then? You're going to suddenly illegalize all aerosol cans if they spray them in the eyes with it? Perhaps you're going to outlaw screwdrivers next. There's only so far you can take these ridiculous ideas of how you're going to slow to stop a problem instead of actually dealing with it. And sometimes actually dealing with means that you need to meet something halfway. And while the rest of us are out here realizing we need to meet people halfway, people who are just like, oh, well, it's this way or nothing, blah, 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 and never give a moment for a dialogue, not as much as an apology, even when they're proven really over the top, you're not going to have a future. And it's probably why some people are here, is because they were probably forced to do early retirement, not for the reasons like myself, which I'm never even going to see formal retirement to even get anything, but more because you were just unworkable in the real world. And those who temporarily have a job in the real world being completely unmanageable, it generally catches up with them quicker one way or another. Usually a blood pressure like I had, but that was from me meeting people more than halfway. At least I think part of it, as well as some kind of biological thing that they had to remove an adrenal gland for. But it's not a way to live. And I don't know. I just feel that people can do better, especially when it's proven that people can do better by launching something that's still largely unfinished as a game program and beat your thing out that's now been in existence for 2 decades. So call it a hunch. Granted, it's old and it's a miracle that it's still running, but yeah, there's that. Let's see. But yeah, let's see. But yeah, taking. Yeah. Cannot be used to explain long term. Yeah, it's. We've already beaten the video game boogeyman back once. What makes you think we're not going to do it again? We beat back Anita Sarkeesian. What makes you think that suddenly a gangle of Australians that should be one of the more freer parts of expression are now sounding worse than England's law system, which is pretty bad? And you think they're going to continuously hold? Other than the fact that they're being also partly injustifiably scapegoated by MasterCard and Visa, that they think that they're going to keep forever hold on everything. Banks are already changing to Discover instead of Visa because of the recent bit with that. It sucks that we have to go through this yet again, but it is a case. And the fact that people are now doing this here in SL to even more limiting quantities of just chasing people off, it's not an apology to say your reasons. It's not justifiable to say your reasons that you're saying you're not being harsh when you blatantly are. And if there is a situation where you actually justifiably believe you're not being harsh, then maybe it's time to talk to someone who's charging per hour or per minute, because I feel like there needs to be a little bit of reevaluation. Needs more Mr. Rogers. Well, Mr. Rogers does it for free. Well, he did it for free. But yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's not the first time we've rolled over on something that decided it was like, we're going to change the world. And America said, yeah, wake us when you get serious. Then Japan woke us up, and then the roll happened. It didn't take too long after that. Long enough to be a significant note in the history books, to the point where we're taught that even more so than World War One, and that we almost never hear about the Korean War, to the point where it's the joke in um, the concept of the Australian War, which is something that actually happened in Grand Theft Auto, but people act like it never happened because they never heard of it, which is actually a lot of people don't talk about, but it is a little a wink and a nod to how people treat the Korean War. You got a bunch of Zoomers and whatnot who never heard of it, so nobody ever talks about it, so they never get respect for it, that it ever happened. So, yeah. We all watch movies, world. We know World War II happened. P.S. We know how the movie ends. So make it science fiction with zombie Nazis, or I don't care. I've seen it enough. But, not to say that history isn't important, but we know it. You want to talk about something cool about World War II? Go into the abandoned hardware that never saw the light of day. That I still look up on. Like the Shinden from Japan, which finally got a damn show in a movie. It only took Godzilla Zero to finally show the damn thing up after we've been roaring about it for, 5 years now? Since, nearly the beginning we started Coalition. So, yeah. Kind of like as well about the Tailspin events on what was it, War Thunder? Again, then they did the only joke season thing 2 years in a row ever. After we were kind of roaring about things like Tailspin for years previous before that. Sometimes you wonder if you have a neat little domino effect in your own little corner of the digital universe. But anyways, I'm going to wrap this up here. Actually, I guess we'll go over what we're saying a little bit more in local chat. If people go over the notes, they probably caught it better than even I did. Because I'm looking at these other things go on in my talking points here. But yeah, I guess here's where we are on the meeting. I kind of wish Ari was here, because he's my next in line for my personal crew, first crew, Crimson Corsairs. But Ari's not always here this early. He's probably working some real life stuff at the moment, or even getting ready to move. A lot of moving parts this year. And yeah, so as far as I can tell, us three and Paula showed up. And Paula then still went on the cruise, I guess, to vote. And if she wants to, that's fine. But most the people not showing up on Tuesdays are not showing up really to vote either. Because we have Monday, which is the other largest cruise in all of Second Life. Tuesday came off of being a splinter away from that, ironically saying that they about their behavior and not adhering to rules. But then we join things like the Tuesday cruise to get rolled over by someone in a boat who doesn't have the draw distance to see what's in front of his big ass boat. His boat is literally the headlights that he can see outpacing where he's driving, and gets, rolls over everyone. And it took how long before anything was done about that, if anything at all. And that guy even accused one of our pilots of something, and then wasn't allowed at that ending position, and it was just accepted because that guy was supplying an ending position, which is also kind of what Vanilla felt like they were doing by supplying a new territory as leverage to say, hey, I'm important, look at me, everyone, because unfortunately in the world, even in Second Life, you're more important if you have the exact things they're looking for, you have money to throw at them, or that you can leverage a massive amount and have the significant, willingness to do so without stop, to hold those leverages against them before you're respected. And I'm trying not to be that last one. But there might be people that might suddenly wind up on some estate bands that actually I happen to know some people that do land things. And it's been offered to me before, even with vanilla, that, oh, okay, well, this person's obviously been a problem for years. You want us to eliminate them from all our estate lands, which also happen to overlap some of the water portions that they like to sail? Like, I might look at that in a future date, but we'll see what happens. And I have not taken that route. However, this year and past several years have stacked by how people are acting. And maybe this is why they're like that. But the platform's not going to survive if you continue that way. And who knows, if suddenly they find that a bunch of estates don't let them work around in even what has been considered public land, only it's not. It is chunks of privately owned bit that let people pass through, and suddenly you can't go that way. And then suddenly you realize having an alt when you speak it to anybody is not this way of that you're going to keep an awesome secret from at least people who hear things like myself. Yeah, maybe you'll give up that, and then a whole thing will disappear, which will take another chunk out of the platform, which I, again, don't want to do. But you're already, people like that are already doing that sort by just saying, oh, well, I'll ban you. Just for, a warning that could have been done much better. That you say is not harsh, but when it's up to the subject of debate and seeing on a public level, I think the public will say, yeah, there's a lot of that public that's willing to say that's pretty harsh. Yeah. I mean, if they said that please not to do it, I'm okay with that. Even if I find the reasoning really kind of weird, if you're civil about it, you're keeping up good relations about it, I get it. I've struggled for years to keep up good relations, even with people like Cryptic, who you go off at things and say, if I find out that you're running planes into boats, there is going to be blah, blah, blah. Whoa, okay. You're saying you're not accusing, but how come every other thing that you type, including your misspells that you're being frantic, sounds very accusatory? And I think when it's subject to things like showing up on stream, also happens to be very, to other people who would review it, also sound very accusatory. It then starts being leveraged to public opinion. And I once upon a time said something among the bits that was once quoted, but those quotes have vanished somewhere to the annals. I'll say annals of history, because it's shit that no one cares about anymore. That even a lie said in enough spread across context and words becomes its own truth. The thing is these aren't lies. This now becomes an opinion that you're being harsh. And that opinion is not unfounded, especially when the context shows up on a stream that, well, you're subject to because streaming is allowed in Second Life. So yeah, everyone in this room has tried to work endlessly with people out here. And we're still getting stuff like this with Cryptic, and I used to get that stuff with Cryptic even when I was doing absolutely nothing wrong, because someone, and I'm pretty sure it was Vanilla at the time, said that like, oh, the planes are running into our boats. Like, okay, you want to talk about a running in problem? How about the people that cut you off and try to run you into a corner sim? And then when you don't go over and you're heavier than they are and they go, wow. I'm like, dude, where was I supposed to go? I'm in a boat that turns like a fucking yacht, but it's a smaller boat. Bandit 60 is not fast. And it doesn't generally stop on a dime. And at that time, I didn't think to, oh, well, I can hit it and edit for an instant lock stop, which breaks me out of my immersion. You opted to cross dead in front of me, right next to me, and there is nothing I could do to avoid you in time. And you're going to say, wow, at me? And at that time, I was very apologetic to the other people that on that boat. I'm like, well, you can only hold it against me so much. You guys crossed right in front of me, and if I turned the other direction, there's nowhere for me to go. I was going to get into a corner sim which is going to vibrate me in a corner as I cross the simulator, if that much happens, and I'm going to crash out of Second Life altogether, just so you could cut off right in front of me because you thought that, well, you could get away with it. Or you were just indeed that ignorant of the situation that you were not aware of your surroundings, in which case I said sorry, and it wasn't me, kidding around. I was legitimately at the time very apologetic, but you left me nowhere to go. And they're like, whatever, and just kind of, I guess blocked me. Because one of the big Chad things to do in Second Life is to do something like blah, 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 and then in all caps say, blocked! And then indeed block the person before they can retort, like a 5-year-old on a playground. But, not everyone here is entirely balanced, and I get that. Some people can't help it. But it's what I've come to understand, and it makes me unbalanced sometimes. It's like one of us is becoming unhinged, and if you're going to be all unhinged, I'm going to be like, you know what, maybe my hinges, maybe I'm going to pop the door. Maybe I'm going to be the one to open up and say, you know what, you're being a fucking brat. So maybe you should go away. Shut the fuck up. Go ahead, report me. See how many reports you probably have on file with the Lindens about how you were being an ass, doing this, that, and the other thing, and then we'll see. Because as far as I know, other than the Lindens knowing I have some harsh shit to say about how I feel how some things are being run, my record's pretty clean, as far as I know. And if it's not, I guess I could find out. There's ways. But when I found out there was a warning, improper warning on my profile, I went to work. And that work resulted in everyone else's warnings for the same thing being removed, platform-wide. So yeah, I'd say it's probably to a degree of good faith that I don't start a lot of shit. But at this point, if you start enough shit with me, and it takes over a year for you to calm the fuck down, I might start looking into things. And it's not against TOS looking into things. Oh, it's very within TOS. I'm not going to spread your personal information. I'm not going to give anyone your address. I have no way of getting it. I don't want it. I don't even want to be tempted with that shit, because you might push me far enough. No, I will do the things that are very much within TOS. I will take the shit you do. And the fact that I do stream more often than not, for whatever channel I will, and if you do something stupid on that stream, that's on you, bud. And in turn, I can give that to a Linden. Now, what was done here today, absolutely also not against TOS. It's just not sharp, I'll say. I'm not going to say it's stupid. I'm not going to say it's any of those things. I'm just going to respectively say it's not the course of action I would take, or I believe many people would take, who want to actively promote their region for habitation. Especially when, as far as I can tell, it's kind of this small collective of area. I mean, it's fairly sizable. It's probably the most sizable of a privatized thing it is, but it's very off to the wayside from what a lot of people do. And if you want to have a gated sailing community, go for it. Go for it. But if you keep doing that to your own people, or people that are maybe future residents in your area that you basically chase off by threatening ban right off the dot, man, that's not going to go well. And those sims are going to get expensive. And if you don't fill them up, probably within the next year, there's a lot of open residencies there. And I think I see why. Because I don't think it's that new. I think they keep hiring people that are no nonsense, but also don't know the art of nonsense just enough to, meet it halfway to a degree to at least play nice. And that doesn't get you future people. I mean, look at like Arrowhead and Helldivers too. To a degree, they understood they had to play a game of nonsense if they were going to keep this tide going, and they're kind of fucking that up now. Because suddenly they got heavy-handed and said, okay, well, you're no longer on the program. And then that just encouraged another major streamer to say, oh yeah, well, I didn't even get on the program. And now, over a year later, here's my long story of what happened in timeline with references. And then suddenly everybody else that is still on their propaganda, they call it by that, by this joke has become almost the joke that's not a joke. Their propaganda program to, hey, yeah, we're all now saying shit too, even though that we're still on your program. And it's not looking good for Helldivers 2 at the moment. I think they could still turn it around. But Arrowhead learned a big lesson of finally getting into the big leagues. And they were playing it good at first, but then they probably had Sony, put on business tips, which is not the way that you get to being big anymore. It's very much not. That one's been burned up. If you wanted to get big by being an ass backwards son of a bitch jackass, I'm sorry, but that's Zuckerberg money. That's now the new old money. That's the steel farms and stuff from things of old history in our now time. It's now a bygone era. You're now playing by the next set of rich people's rules. And so, yeah. He is expensive enough. He can get above it to the point where he could settle out and let go of shit and still be rich and not care. Linden Labs is not that company. Much less anyone who's trying to make a buck on their company. So, we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I keep saying I'm going to wrap it up. But alright, I know this was less of a meeting as me talking to a stream while also having my words heard here, so you guys don't have to go over it again. I think, I don't think Ari's going to cry if I say, yeah, we're really thinking, we're probably not going to go there anymore. I don't think he's going to care. But, I'll see what he says too, but I think everyone here in the room, of active captains and active firsts and whatnot, that the most active, I should say, is in agreement. The other captains don't even really want to already be in that area. Other people of pilots, even other boaters don't want to be in that area. Maybe it's just time to give that area up entirely. And then the moment Cryptic says, okay, well, you're no longer welcome on the Tuesday cruises, and I'll be like, that's cool. It just means that we might meet up once in a while as we cross your course, because your course has no regulation of being way too large for it to be known as a race or a parade. So if we happen to come across you, well, we're not going to listen to you. So we're no longer holding by the regulations that we literally came up with to appease boaters like you. So if you're going to get angry that we flew like only 10 meters clearance from the top of your mast, well, that's just too fucking bad. If we fly in front of your bow, as long as we make zero contact, again, too fucking bad. This whole idea that, oh, well, all of Blake is 100 meters. No, it's not. It never appeared in official rules. You need to get a Linden to sign off on that. That was a hearsay that was spread by some landlocking blackballers from literally like a decade ago. And it never held. It all just kind of went away. And they probably realized trying to uphold something like that is ridiculous. And it will probably kill the program. You don't want to do that. A lot of people don't realize it, but travelers do make a good chunk. Strangely enough, we just deal with Second Life's bullshit of losing planes on Sims corners, even though we now beat the corner situation. For the most part, it's now just any other crossing can get you any other day. It's at least better than it was during the 3-year hell. The hell years, those were bad. That made even Zan quit for a while. I didn't see Zan for like 2 years. But, oh, let me get a drink. Too much talking, I know. Oh. But yeah, I wanted to get this on like official stream thing because for YouTube it's going to get to official recording, which is basically just log holding. If they want to use it against me, go for it. Because I'm fully aware of what I'm saying, what I'm doing, what I'm whatnot. Even if I am on a bit of extra painkiller and antibiotics because I had oral surgery. But I think I'm well enough to say that, like, we've been doing this for years now. I've seen just about everything in travel. I've seen what it's like to get landlocked. I've seen what it's like to get sim jailed, as we call it, when all the other sims basically just don't let you cross into them anymore because of a bug. Not because Linden said, oh, that's enough for you. It's because Linden's now busted up system said, I don't feel like it. No Linden required. Uh, yeah. But Blake is just probably it's what I like to call considered my flying stomping grounds. Because even though that there are shit heels with like 1 second orbs and stuff and spot like that, a lot of people realize it's not gaining any favors. If you have like a 1 second orb or instant gone or something like that, and you're near a travel area, sooner or later you're going to hear it. And then sooner or later, other people that are not nearly as nice as I am. Capybara Street's not going to be the only one who runs into your shit. It's going to be completely non-passive animal that comes up on your shit. Probably activates a bunch of trolls and comes stomp your ground for YouTube clicks. Because that's not what this is, interestingly enough. This is just my personal record holding, because I realize nobody's really going to use this channel. I'm probably going to change over to Twitch, honestly, in which case Second Life's just not on the docket for Twitch because of things I explained earlier in this stream, aka now backed up recording video. I'll go back and play more Helldivers and watch what shenanigans happens there, like watching a hive tyrant just run sideways through everyone unto death, or watching bugs burrow through buildings somehow, or even a dead hard rock, which it shouldn't be able to do but does, or the bile titan that dies, springs up on 2 legs with its arms branching out into the sky like I'm a tree, only to like pop out of reality because, well, that's at least funny. Same reason why they probably will not fix the AT-AT walkers from like upon death twirling through the air in 360s through the sky. Is it intended? No. But is it fun to watch even when you die to it? It really is. So I hope they fix that one last whenever they get around to it. They're fixing shit, and oddly enough, Helldivers is the game that refuses to die. Second Life somehow has also been the game that refuses to die no matter how many bad decisions have been made. But the difference there is that the proof is in the pudding with Second Life because it has lived those 20 years. Helldivers is just getting past 2. So we'll see. But I think it's going to keep going because they just need to turn it around, and they just need to keep telling Sony, like, yeah, every choice you make, every heart you break, the citizens are watching you. And we probably shouldn't do everything you say, and if you want to get rid of us, that's fine, but then you're going to have to close down Helldivers when you had absolutely no faith in the project until after it brought back a bigger return than you ever hoped for, versus your games that you've recently tried to do that everyone warned you what you were doing wrong, and then you did it anyway, and you lost not thousands, but probably 10,000s. A lot of money was lost on several games, and then you wonder why prices went up before many other prices went up. Or because I don't think Sony's, got Microsoft's excuse of like, okay, well, we're doing a bunch of stupid things and laying off good people for the sakes of funding it into AI. Okay, I don't agree with it. Not that I'm super against AI. I love the stupid shit it comes up with for images and songs. Like Ghost Dad's Belt, one of my favorite 70s songs ever. But do I think that you should lay off that many people for the chase that were making even your good games? Even names like Romero, not Romero the movie guy, but the guy who programmed games like only some of the biggest trend-setting like first-person shooters that started the path. You got rid of Romero, who was working on something for years, but you got rid of him just so you could put money into AI? What the fuck? So Microsoft at least has this reason of why they did all this other stupid shit. What does Sony have? Oh, we funded a bunch of money into some really failing ideas that everyone warned us that we expected to buy it anyway. Well, there's your derp. Helldivers money might be the only thing that's keeping Sony from doing even more astronomically stupid bullshit. And Sony has their own trend setting of doing astronomically dumb bullshit. Like asking premium money for hardware that was made out of use and throw away hardware, like the original PlayStation. Yeah, if you ever wondered why you had to keep turning your PlayStation on the side or upside down to keep working because the thread needles on one side that were carrying the eye wore out, that's why. It was use and throw away shit. It wasn't meant to go 5 years of regular use. But as they say, that's the grift. Uh, yeah, I think once AI goes a further way, it's when like I'm even fiddling with like random AIs at this point. The irony is I'm literally able to play a text adventure out of a game for a smartphone that originally was meant to be a total Gooner's paradise, and people are making legitimate text to reaction mech games on a phone with AI. Granted, because it is still resourcing back to their network. And it's good for just to sit down and play. Eventually, I run out of chat turns and I gotta stop because I'm not paying. I think AI is rampant so much, and it's going to remain rampant so much. It's about the concept of you can't reclose Pandora's box, you can't put the genie back in the bottle. It was never meant to be this closed off thing that you had to pay everything for, although they're trying, and to a degree they will, to certain levels of it, but there's going to be a level of it that's always free, and it's only going to be more expansive. So when that happens, how much more is it going to be when it becomes an even more visual escapade and mass multiplayer? Do you think Second Life will remain? Nothing remains forever, but some things remain longer than people anticipate. So, yeah, I think I'll go ahead and cancel out with that. Does anybody want to have parting words for official record while we're doing the stream thing here? And I'll even read them off for people who don't want to squint and see the little text box in my corner. Even to recap old things that you probably think I missed, because there is a chance. I am not a pro streamer. I'd love to be, but I don't think I'm going to ever hit that level. Yeah, one of my past quotes. That's an outside problem. We're in a tank. Any thoughts? Anybody in the local? That mostly means YouTube. Because I don't think anyone's watching. I could check, but I highly doubt it. Everything else is going to have to go to like, if they even care to message on my thing. Okay, yeah, everything is okay, and you're good. Alright, yep. I guess we'll wrap it up. I guess Pill, maybe, did Pill go for something AFK still? This is extremely quiet for Pill. Nope, you're here. Alright. So, yeah. Let me stop burning up time. I'm sure it's well past of, yeah. A lot of people are probably even leaving that after party already, and that's fine. You know what? Tuesday can be something else. Maybe we go play even another game entirely, which is not what Second Life is going to want to hear across the Linden Labs. It's like, oh, well, this thing's happening. Like, why don't we go play another game? It's generally not what people want to see or hear on stream when they already know that their game is on life support. And I get it. It's on life support because it's ancient, but it lasts as long as you help it last. Our own topless flyer runs, maybe. Yeah, it's going to try. I don't know if we'd get quite as big because Second Life is not only its own Gooner paradise, but it's also an Aqua Gooner paradise. Like, people in boats just... This seems to be their safe haven, maybe because they can't get a sailing game that doesn't run at the frame rate of shit, and the options are just less limiting in Second Life, even though you'll never have waves other than the Prem things that stream across a certain area and repeat. You're never going to have real weather changing conditions except if you wear it, which we've done with airplanes for funsies. But it's kind of whatever's built into the vehicle of the experience you want and how much it can tolerate the system in bulk mass play in a world where for some reason Second Life gets harder and harder to have mass play and becomes more limiting in numbers before things break. I mean, Pixelverse, which, I work with here, because Pill's right there, to bring planes that have really cool ideas and fun things, but we know has to work in the most belligerently horrible conditions possible. We're up there and we've accomplished it. And there's few others that are really accomplishing it to the same level. I mean, I'll with Altec not Altec Lansing. Oh my god. With AT, the things that Waifu works with, they're cool. I fly a bunch of those. The new PPY is great. Like Rachel here actually got me one for my birthday. I fly quite a lot. But part of the success of that is that a PPY is also kind of slow. Might see if we can chuck a corner crossing add-on to it. Since, are they moddable? I forget. They might not be, unfortunately. I'll figure it out. Probably not mod. Yeah, it's probably not mod because it's considered an actual warplane and does have weaponization. But maybe a wearable thing will work for that. I forget. I have to look more into it. But I can avoid corners for the most part. I was trained on doing such before we had corner crossing tech in our own planes. And once in a while I break out my Swordfish, which is also an AT plane. There's a couple other vendors. I don't fly what was it, A&W? AEW? AEW is a wrestling promotion. What are they called again? Was it A&E? I don't know. But it has like AEBNW. When you make me wait for years for a replacement plane, then you say you fixed it and send me the exact same plane yet a third time the years later, and it's still broke as fuck, and I have to dip the nose down to fly it like a helicopter. Yeah, no, that was where I drew the line, and I will never promote them. I will never fly another one of their planes ever again. They would have to pay me significant amount of money and prove, even with that money, that I'm not signing an NDA that I can't show when this fucks up and you've had at least 6 months to fix it. Because I don't want to wait a year. I much less didn't want to wait the 2 years to 3 years I probably actually did because I'm overly patient. It's just ridiculous. But yeah. So I guess let's just call it a break. I'll probably fly for the evening thing. Gosh, I guess I should ask Cryptic ahead of time, something I have no intent on actually doing, but seeing what Cryptic would say. If mermaids are allowed or if they're not. That'd be funny as shit if she said, no mermaids allowed. Oh, I'm pretty sure she wouldn't go that far, but it would be fucking funny. How funny would it be if she then also said yes and some other troll just showed up with like 20 mermaids to the point their boats can't like go where they intend? I won't do it, but I can't say no one else will ever not do it. Especially since we still have Avatar crop circles at the bottom of the ocean when it comes to tiny empires. Not as prevalent now because, again, Second Life is dying off, but it's still kind of funny. See, airplanes can find a way around a lot of that shit. Boats can't. And we're told by regulation that we indeed have to give way to bigger boats if we're in a smaller boat, which makes sense. It's how it is in real life. And if you're a plane, you have to give way to races and certain boating excursions. But from what I understand, it's highly unexpected that when there is a cruise that takes up like a huge swath that it's almost impossible for people to know to avoid it all at all one time, because the times also are very variant as to how far they'll get, especially on the conditions of the grid. I don't think that they're going to side with any boating group about, oh, well, planes can't fly here when they're there at all, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. As it is, if we show up upon your cruise, we're probably coming and going. So, yeah, we're just probably not going to adhere to a boating group's long distance cruise regulation when they're adherently and borderline intoxically, what's the word I'm looking for? Borderline offensive? I guess that's the word. It's a word a lot of people use anymore, so I guess I'll be that person. It feels nearly offensive to be told that you're going to be banned just because you said, I'm sorry, we didn't see it in the regulations. And then for someone to say, that won't fly while I'm a state manager. Okay, so it won't fly that you're enforcing a rule that's not been there. And even though that you are indeed an estate manager, you should generally give someone, at least some benefit of a doubt who's forever proved that they've been trying to bend to your will every which way, and that you've been increasingly hostile whenever something comes up, when something's ever been slightly asked of a question of it, or that they even brought up of what they heard. It's not a good way to play. And to a degree, it is. It's work. It's a job here. I get it. But do I think it's a job that you're paid, to a level of management to act like that? Or that other people are going to want to stay with your business model for it? No. I don't think so. And I think some of that proof was already in the pudding when Linden Labs was trying to be more iron-fisted about, oh, well, if you make it here, then we own it. That was the second major... Was it the first or second major exodus of builders? They keep doing things, and then there's been like 3 major exoduses of designers and builders from Second Life. And it was usually because they came up with something that infringed upon, well, our terms of service we think somehow magically trumps legal copyrights, which one of these days someone's going to think it's worth their time to fight that. But instead of fighting it, they just said, yeah, fine, we just pull our things and go. Because once upon a time, the way that they ended up thinking they should do this is because there were already Lindens dipping into builders' inventories and getting things for free. And so their way around that was like, oh, well, here's the new terms of service, and it didn't go well. And that's not just my opinion. That's something that you can indeed research for another day, if the watcher here so cares to do, because it indeed happened. And anything that has happened and hit the internet once, no matter what you think, it's why you should think twice before doing porn on the internet. If you don't like it later, too fucking bad, because sure, a lot of people are going to expunge it from the over places a lot. The internet is bigger than the sums of its parts. And you can't, there's some things in life you can't take back. Forgiveness, indeed, forgive and forget, but then you better, well, in some cases, do the apology and realize that there's some things that it doesn't matter if it's about an apology. It's about, you made a choice that's stuck, that can't be undone when it comes to, indeed, doing weird things with a baseball or a baseball bat, on a webcam. But that's a conversation for another time. But yeah. All right, let's go ahead and wrap up here. I think we know, for the sakes of the meeting, I'm going to let Ari know that I really don't think we should do the Tuesdays at Eden anymore, and what hangs in the balance is if we're going to do Tuesdays at all anymore. We've already been looking to like maybe slim up some of our schedule, because gosh, I'm pretty sure we're officially the most regular group that flies in Second Life. Granted, we aren't doing it as big numbers regularly, but no one else is also doing it as regularly or with their regular numbers. So, kind of fault. If I'm thinking that we fly more often than the Blue Angels, I'm willing to believe that we have more flight hours on average than even the Blue Angels, and that's probably almost everybody else here. Even most Coast Guard groups, I'm pretty sure they spend a lot of time in the water, but then they have only limited time, and they have people that do formations and practice a bit with the helicopters for a bit. But that's not nearly as many days as we do what we do. And that's not me putting them down. This is just me saying, look at what we do. I think we have an idea of what the fuck we're talking about, and even we want to slow down when people act like this. So it's not going to chase us away from doing what we want completely. I mean, as it is, if they do ban us from Eden, okay, we're kind of already not interested in going to Eden anymore. Um, if they come out in Blake, go ahead, complain about us. But you're not a race, you're not a formalized parade, and good luck getting the Linens to thumbs up your official schedule every week that you're taking up a random place without reporting in way ahead of time every single week and see how much work that takes to get done. And if you're going to actually do it to and be able to enforce it, that you are never going to see aircraft fly above your head ever again when you're on a route. It's, kind of a too bad situation. But yeah, we work with people who want to work with us. But when you say some stuff that's objectively the opposite direction of what you just felt like multiple times over the years, and I'm still willing to talk about it, of course, if it's known that I put this publicly, it may not be an offer on the table. I'm fine with that too. I think everyone here is fine with that. I think Ari's fine with that. I think the entire management staff is okay with that. And most of our pilots are too, that are indeed spending a good chunk of time as pilots. And if we lose some more pilots over, so be it. But we're still one of the most regular traveling groups, not just airplanes, but groups in Second Life. Even drivers is normally, they have people that'll go out around the clock and stuff like that, and they'll have a huge, massive burst over the weekend. But we do our sort pretty much all week. And what I'm not doing personally, someone else is already running practice, like here with Rachel, with practice runs of, combat stuff that people volunteer for. There is no other group that has quite a spread like ours. But yeah, I will say that drivers has like probably the max at any kind of income spike ever, period, when it comes to travel. I'm not even going to try and say we're going to buck that trend. But yeah, the more harder things get, the more harder people get, the less people are going to be here. And you need people are not an infinite resource. They're very finite. Even in when we are at huge population spikes of 10 years ago, which then took rather considerable sudden dips in the last few, but still plenty of us here on the globe. When it comes to gaming, there's lots of other new lands to go to because the digital frontier is the ever expanding one. It is the outer space that we kind of skipped outer space to move on to because we can pretty much compress the space and find ways to seem to make it nearly infinite. So all it takes is a quirky co-op shooter with ragdoll bullshit shenanigans and massive explosions of people working together to buck the trend of even Fortnite for a while. The frontiers are going to be forever there. Even if one universe has to die to make room for it, it's going to happen, but we get more ability to expand. And as far as I know, the efforts to save gaming to keep it from vanishing, even when it's a pay service, is being worked on as we speak. So it's a very expansive set of rules, universe, and maybe someday it'll get to the level of being also finite. But we're going to have to look at server farms being the size of Rhode Island before suddenly we find that we don't have enough room for people in gaming if there's enough people supporting that huge ass game or huge ass block of games. And it's starting to get collectively into people who play that one game and not much else. So when that comes down, how much do you really think, especially with all the other options out there, that games that are waning are going to work? It's just not. But right. Okay, I'm going to click this off now. I keep saying it. I'm doing it. I'm actually doing it this time. So as soon as I put my, you know what? I'll just zoom up on the flag instead of my usual little thing here, and then we'll just sign it off on that. Close my little window thing here, and that, and this, and I think that was the person who floated above us who might have been scoping me out. I got a question for you. See how they respond to that. But other than that, I'll put that in the corner to see if they respond. Probably not. I don't think they're gonna. Oh, they did respond. God, I said I was gonna click off the thing though. I guess I'll just go with the one question, see how they respond. But I am not from here. Well, someone did say the place is perfect. Oops. I won't have to watch that. A little piece of my blanket dipped into the soup bowl, which is empty, but there's still a little bit of stuff in there. I'll have to throw my blanket in there. Hopefully it'll be not too super freezing tonight. I have other blankets though. This is just my favorite. But yeah, I'll go throw that in the washer in just a moment. A blanket early display a spectacular ass hollering left sitting out and turning to the fridge. Yeah, there's some weird stuff happens in Second Life. Weird stuff. But yeah, alright. Well, they did seem to say that they still love the area for boating, but that's fine. That's great if that's what it's for, but honestly, there's still plenty of other places to go boating. Even with other places that are normally boating first, Second Norway is actually big with boating, but also has some driving, and they have certain regulations and rule sets. But I've personally not had an outrageous thing with them to the point where we've actually been requested to just contact Second Norway staff when we find something's up. So we're kind of even low key scouting for that area here and there, and we just report in what we find. But yeah, but the now missing person here, they might have been low key reporting in, or maybe they saw me in the water down there in the car, and then put it into what's her name? Yeah, it's a bad sign when I'm already forgetting their name when I've known them for years. Cryptic. It's probably me already putting like a mental block. So, but yeah. I'm totally spelling that wrong. I'm going to resort to spell check at that point. Alright. But yeah, I guess it's time to wrap up. Been past time to wrap up. Okay. I'm wrapping up now. I'm going to hit the thingy. The big old zoom up on the thing. I'll just end it there. Gosh, it's been so long since I used this now.